A while back, I had reported on a brother by the name of Gulaid Omar who was visiting Montreal to celebrate a milestone in his career, and he was going to be celebrating with his family and friends. He was waiting outside his rental car, and he was approached by Laval police. Next thing you know, he's thrown to the ground. He was assaulted by them, and of course, he wants to charge them with assault. Fast forward to a year later, because this happened on September 1st of 2024, the Laval police wants to charge him with resisting arrest and assaulting two officers. Remember, I said he was the one assaulted, right? In any event, I had the opportunity of sitting down with Gulaid and getting his story. But before watching the interview, I want to just remind you of the actual incident that took place. So take a look at this, and then we'll go right into the interview, and then we'll talk further.
For what? For what?
What's the charge? What's the charge?
Yeah, we're not gonna do nothing. What's it? Why is he?
This is a bit much for one person.
Hey everyone, so I'm here with Gulaid Omar, and he's going to tell us what happened here in Laval, Quebec last year that had him assaulted by the Laval police. So Gulaid, first of all, thanks so much for doing this and letting us know, your story, because I know I covered it. And, based on what we saw in the videos, it looked to me like the police attacked you. So,
Absolutely.
from what I understand so far, is you were going to Montreal to celebrate a milestone in your career, and
Yes,
you were standing outside your car rental, and then the police came. And so, tell us what happened.
absolutely. And thanks for, putting on my story out there first and foremost. But yeah, so initially we went there. It's my first time. I was born and raised in Toronto. It's my first time visiting the province. I've heard stories. Everybody's heard stories of, Quebec, how they can be and stuff. And yeah, it was a great weekend for the most part. We were there over the Labor Day weekend, 2024. And we were in Montreal for most of the weekend. We went to Taco Fest. We enjoyed ourselves. It was just me and my cousins and some friends. And my some of my friends, they work with me too. So they're the ones initially that convinced me, that said, you've came such a long way. We're happy for you, and like just come celebrate with us. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go. We end up going, and this was about, I think, the third day of the vacation, like when we were all there. And when we went to Laval, we just got into the city of Laval. And Laval, how do I put it? It's like it's the greater area of Montreal. So it's a different police, and they in a way have their own style and how they operate. And by the way, it was a special unit called Eclipse or Equinox. If you can look them up too, they're known for doing these type of tactics. They have a long history, and they're given a green light in the province to do these kind of things. They have something called like a simulation where they want to force people, and it's just bullying tactics where they just come into, nightclubs or areas, and they just harass people. So initially, we were parked waiting for our friends to come. We were about to go inside the lounge, and we're starting our night. Keep in mind, we're just starting the night, and we're parked, and we're on the street though. It's a street parking, and we're waiting for our friends. They're like, we're 4 or 5 minutes away. As they're coming, as we're waiting, they're a couple minutes away. A police just cruises by, and he puts his flashlights to us at when we're in the car. He drives by, nothing of it. He drives probably the distance of like, he drives off. He's gone by that time. And then me, I said, okay, guys, let's not wait for these guys. Let's just go inside. We get out of the car. You can see now the police is in the distance of like a football field or like a soccer field. They're all the way down the road. Now they're doing a U-turn, and we're walking into the establishment, and then they do a 100-meter dash. They do a full meter dash, cut us off on the sidewalk, and hit their lights. And the first three things that they yelled, and I replied each time, that the times that they third. And like you ever see like videos of somebody that has a gun and they scream like, "Get back into the car!" Like they're screaming like that. There's no calm demeanor. They're yelling the top of their lungs like they just seen some sort of crime or a firearm or something. So I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Like, I've never seen things like, get back into the car. I said, What are we being detained for? What's going on here? Are we being detained? Get back into the car. What are we being detained for?" That went back and forth 3 times. Within the 3 times, he's closing in on me. He's closing in my little space, and I'm stepping like I have my hands things, and I'm walking back. He gets real close to me, and he pushes me like right here in my like upper shoulder area, and then as he pushes me, he's like, "Get back into your car." So initially, you can see what they're trying to do is they're trying to force a pullover, thinking that we're intoxicated and saying that we're going to force these guys a DUI, in which we weren't driving. And I'm the designated driver, by the way. I'm not even things. So, I find it funny. And the night is just starting. So they're trying to force us back into the car, in which they never pulled me over. I've been pulled over before, in my life. I've never gotten forced into my car to get forced to pull over. So I find it kind of quite strange. So push me, not in his face, like fair distance. So I'm like this. I'm like, don't touch me. I know my rights. And we're like not even arm distance, farther. Like he's a little farther. That just set his eyes on fire right there. I seen his face. He grabbed me right there, him and his partner threw me to the ground, and then that's where the video starts that you can see. That like it's all on social media. I told my cousin right there. I said, start filming this. They're trying to throw me to the ground. They threw me to the ground. From there, the assault lasted 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. Tased me twice, pepper sprayed me 3 times, knee on the back, punctured my groin, just anything you can name, punctured my head. There's 1 minute within 2, 3 minutes of the assault. I gave them both my hands. I said, "Here, take my hands." Take my hands. I'm compliant more. I'm de escalating the situation more than these guys. I'm saying, "Here, guys, relax." They're further escalating it so that their boys can come and join in and, just go into town on me and just beat me up. And at one point I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're gonna just put me in cuffs and story's gonna end. It kept going. It kept going. It kept going. I don't think people realize how bad it really was. Like they try to downplay the situation, but this was going on for like 30 minutes of them just going in on me, to be honest.
So how bad were your injuries? Like I know I seen on the news coverage that you had an injury to your eye and stuff. Were you
Yeah.
unconscious? Like what?
Yeah, my friend told me that I was out for a little bit and I didn't even realize it. Like I was out. They tased me. Like they're puncturing me in my groin out of all places. You can see it on video multiple times, by the way. That's very strange in my opinion. They're stepping on my clothing, my hat. I had a concussion. They smashed my head onto the concrete. I had some scars on the back of my head, you know, dislocated, I think, a finger, my wrist. Like I was just bruised up and badly so beaten, my neck, my back. Still today I have like hip pain and like they messed me up a lot, and a lot of it's just mental trauma as well. But main thing of course is like the brain concussion that they did towards me and they smashing my head onto the concrete. You can see within the first 5 minutes of the video, just smashing it. And there's just multiple blows to the head, right?
I'm very familiar with Quebec. Okay, I grew up there, and I know how anti-black racist those police are, and I know all about that particular unit, that Eclipse unit in Quebec. And this is what they do: they target black men. It's like it's their mission in life. They get up
Absolutely.
and they're like, which black man am I going to torment today? Right. So I'm not surprised that this happened to you.
Hmm.
I know that you were suing them, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And is it the Red Coalition that's helping you with that?
Yeah, Joel. Yeah. I'm getting
Okay,
help by
so
Joel.
so where was the case and where is the case now? Because now they're turning around and they're suing you or charging you with,
Mm,
I think what I read was assaulting two officers and resisting arrest. And
absolutely.
in my mind, I'm thinking, how in the heck can you be assaulting officers when you're the one down and they're assaulting you?
I
So
was telling my friends, I said, if I wanted to assault those guys, I would have done some damage. I'm a big guy, like I would have done some damage. I would have fought back. There's firearms on like there's guns. Like, what am I thinking? Like, things. I did 2 breathalyzers, zero, came zero. Like, who's in their right mind trying to fight cops, especially on a vacation? So it's like resisting what arrest? I wasn't arrested that time, you know. They gave me two tickets. They gave me three tickets. Failure to give your license, registration, and insurance. In which I had all. Everything was good. My papers were good, nothing to hide. Wasn't intoxicated. I blew zero. So what am I hiding initially? What is somebody that's not intoxicated, that has their paperwork, all the papers, license, everything good? What did they have to hide? So they're trying to create a narrative. But yeah, um, they didn't arrest me that night. They called the hospital and they scattered. They scattered like, like they're infested, like, like rodents kind of, they just dispersed like this. And usually you'd think that hitting a police officer, you're going to the station. You would think that, right? I don't think in my mind when you hit a police, they're gonna say we're gonna take him to the hospital and just we're gonna arrest them. Like what they're trying to say is they arrested me. They gave me the charges 10 days later after the incident. It's false, right? And I didn't get charged or nothing like that. Um, what initially happened was they found out that I'm going the full length with this lawsuits and that I'm serious. I have backing. I work a government job and I'm serious. This is not something I'm taking lightly. I'm gonna fight for my life for this. And hopefully there's policy change, in which these guys are just denying to the highest level, in which I find shocking. So once they seen that is when they came and said, oh, he has to come to give his fingerprints, in which I did like 2 months ago, and photo. I said, for what? Because I asked Joel too. I said, what happened with my tickets in the Red Coalition? He said, oh, they got rid of your tickets. So I said, what was the stop for? What was the stop for? If you guys stopped me, I'm not arrested, resisting arrest. Why was I stopped? The tickets initially were wiped out now, right? Because they realized that those tickets in a lawsuit have no weight. So they're realizing, oh, we can't give him these tickets because he has everything that's legit. His paperwork is straight, everything's good. So what do they look at now is saying he's resisting. What arrest? I wasn't arrested. So I find that like that's the biggest contradiction in the whole situation. But yeah, initially like they're trying to charge me after finding out I'm going the thing. It was only 11 months, almost 12 months, only a full calendar that they came around to say they're going to charge me. And my lawyers told me this is a common retaliation tactic that they do. They just try to exhaust your benefits of you putting money, mentally drain you. The lawsuit game, I'm realizing now, it's another level of stress and a mental psych game aside from the incident itself. And I fall into it a lot of times. People tell me relax, take it easy. I said, yeah, but we're only human. Like what they're doing is tactics. You're going up against them, and it's at times it can take a toll on somebody. It's not easy, but yeah, they're playing their little petty games.
Yeah, you see, what they are is they're banking on it being an inconvenience for you. So they want to keep trying to like fight back and say, "Oh, you did this and you did that." And then of course, the lack of body cams in Quebec, with these police officers not having body cams. But what you had to your advantage is that somebody was filming them assaulting you. So
Absolutely.
they know you have a case. And
Yep.
then the Red Coalition is a great organization because they have former attorneys, former RCMP officers, so they know the game and they're black and brown. So they're definitely on your side, and they know
Absolutely.
this because there has been some suits that were actually won where they ended up having to pay, you see, and they don't want to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that you're sticking with it. I'm glad that you're not, and you're not accepting this nonsense. It's a bogus charge that they're coming up
If
with.
you see in the end, they're doing the flashlights in one of the videos. There's a whole video based on that on YouTube. I think it's with CBC, in which they're saying if you're recording a violent arrest and what the police is doing is unlawful, and you see them doing these flashlights, it just goes to show that what they're hiding. If you see my Instagram or anybody seeing my Instagram, searching my name here below, Gulaid Omar, you will see there's one video of them just harassing and they're yelling at my friends. My friends in who the second car that came after are the guys that are getting harassed even too, and which weren't initially there when the police fully came. So that goes to show. Even when Joel seen this, he said, "When we went on the news, you showed me these video that video first." I said, "Oh, I never realized that video." He's like, "This is golden because you can see who the bullies and the antagonizers are in that situation. You guys are keeping yourselves more civil than the law. It doesn't really make sense." And it's like, These guys have a long history of going into clubs, especially clubs with colored people, and IDing them. And what they'll do is trying to act like that person's intoxicated and grab them, drag them out of the club, and beat them to the pulp, making them seem like they're the bad guy or they're under intoxication causing trouble. I've even heard from people DMing me, messaging me saying there's been known that in Quebec, some of these police in Laval and other places is that they play a game every week and who can get the most beatings with visible minorities, and they put $100 down, and in the end, it's whoever gets the most beatings gets a prize.
They're just the most despicable humans, and I don't
Mhm.
even know why they're still on the force. Like these are
Absolutely,
not police officers. They're just garbage humans. And
absolutely.
and they do like again, there is a history of doing this, and I've covered many stories where black men in different parts of Quebec go through the same thing, and it's that particular squad that
Hmm.
does this. You'll have a black man who's driving a car that's registered to a white woman, and they do exactly what you just described, which is that U-turn. They
Yeah.
drive by, they do a U-turn, they come back, and they
Hmm.
do all this nonsense to black men. And
Absolutely.
and that's why I always say that black people in general need to leave Quebec because it's not
Hmm.
going to change. I grew up there in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and it was just as bad then as it is now. So that's to tell you how nothing changes. And I'm
Nothing.
really sorry that this happened to you because you were just visiting,
Yeah.
minding
First
your
time.
black business, just
First
waiting
time.
outside your car, you know, ready to have a good time. And now your memory of celebrating, a milestone in your career has
Mhm.
become this. And
Absolutely.
now you're dealing with this nonsense lawsuit. So my question to you is like, where are we at with this lawsuit? You said you got fingerprinted and you had to take a picture. Is there been a court date? And is your lawyer, what's your lawyer doing with this charge? And what's going on with your actual charge against them? What's the status on that?
Absolutely. So initially, the fingerprints that I went for last month were for the criminal charges, what they're trying to lay against me. The civil lawsuit, it's a matter of like it's just a waiting game at times in which they're getting police ethics. We filed the ethics complaint against the whole police force. So it's not initially just that those police that were involved that time, we filed it in the Red Coalition with the whole police force in Laval to see if what they've been doing and any wrongdoings of what they've been doing, and they're under under heavy eyes right now. So it's just funny things. And then the lawsuit, it's just honestly right now, they haven't came once to like come in terms of saying we want to like, apologize for what happened or even talk some sort of settlement or anything like that for what's happened or anything like that. So right now it's just a waiting game. My lawyer's just been rigorously just having all tools ready. Right now they're gonna get I think I within the next few weeks or the next month I have an interview with their lawyer in which they're gonna interview me and ask me everything what happened from the beginning to end, and from there I believe they're gonna get police specialist in which deems if the police's actions on that night were justified on what they're taught and everything like that. It's just a waiting game with these lawsuits. Sometimes they can last a years.
I was just going to say that, it can drag out for a year, 2 years, three
That's what
years.
they want, right? They want to kill my morale.
Exactly. They're
Yeah,
they're hoping, they're banking on that. And again, I'm glad that you're sticking with it. And
absolutely.
we definitely have to, as black people, we have to make sure that we put them on blast because
Uh,
your report made it to the news, but I guarantee you there are several that never even see the light of day, and there are
absolutely.
several black men that are just not even talking about it. And so it's really important that we continue to expose these racist police officers because that is what they are. They're anti-black racists. And what you just said about how they have this game where they're like putting money in a pot and saying how many racialized people can you assault today, like let's meet our monthly quota,
Yeah,
right? That's despicable and
still
actually is very believable. I
absolutely.
100% believe that they're doing
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
And so that's why it's so important that we keep this case going and we don't
absolutely.
accept this nonsense because that's what it is, nonsense. And I was just so infuriated when I saw the report you sent me, where they're like turning around now and saying, oh, we're going to charge him and making up lies. That's another thing they do. They will lie on Black people. And they always use those same two tropes is that they assaulted us or they resisted arrest and I was afraid for my life. But here's the thing, if a police officer pulls you over, which by the way, it was very weird, like you said, that they're telling you to get inside the car when normally they're telling you to get out of the car.
Yeah.
And in this case, you were already outside of the car. So
Hmm.
if they want to question you, they question you outside of the car. So telling
Yeah.
you to get inside the car is problematic for me because then I feel like they're trying to plant something in your vehicle. They're trying to find a way to pad some charge on you,
Yeah.
right? By telling you
Exactly.
to get in. So then they will get in and pretend they're searching or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was very sus. Okay.
Yeah,
That
they
was,
searched. They searched my car too. Didn't find nothing. Made me do a breathalyzer. I said, "You guys want me to do another one? Let's do it. Sign me up. Like, let's do it." And I've been deep diving myself within like Quebec's history and like seeing everything. And I one thing I've got whip of was like they don't want assimilation. They don't want things to change on their history. They have their own history and their story. So it's you guys can be yourself, but there's like some sort of rules of like you guys can't practice too much. And mainly what they do is they target visible minorities when they're expressing themselves a little too much. And here in 2025, when like Quebec itself, it's not a country in the end of the day, but they operate themselves as a country. That's their own story. That's a whole nother topic. But in the end of the day, it's if this is the case and what you guys are gonna do, we might as well sign visas before coming into Quebec because people are at risk. Visible minorities, even locals that are visible minorities that live in that province, they're at risk. Pretty much, you're saying, yo, everybody has a curfew. You guys are not allowed to show your face past 8 to 9 p.m. when it gets dark because police may harm you and try to ruin your life. It's ridiculous.
yeah, they do make that their mission. They really do,
Yes.
because at the
Yes.
end of the day, they're not happy to see all these Black people here.
No?
And you're right about the fact that they've been trying to separate now for centuries.
Yep.
Even when I was living there in the 60s and 70s, you drive by homes and then you would see we know, like all these, the public vote of us separating and us only speaking English and this being, speaking French and this only being a French speaking province, and they're still fighting for that.
I find it funny because a lot of times it's visible minorities, and a lot of money that goes to the federal government comes from Ontario and Alberta, and it comes from visible minorities in those provinces and Quebec, in which contribute so much money to that, in which the police get funding from, all that to get that money to be harassed back by the same money in the pot that you put back into. I find that real contradiction. Like it's real funny because a lot of times it's visible minorities that contribute and they work with their blood, sweat, and tears. They're the engine of economies. A lot of times it's the people in Quebec like the Haitians, that work. They work real hard. A lot of visible minorities. A lot of and what do we get in return for that? That money that goes to the police in Quebec comes back to harass us. So what I would say is that everybody as a focal group that are colored within the province of Quebec need to start like coming together and not standing against for this stuff because something needs to stop. Me as a visitor, I have no history in that province. This is my first time visiting, and this is the start of my story there. I was born in Toronto. Like my first time visiting, I seen the old city, Montreal. I was having a great time. Until then, it was the end of my trip. I'm like, oh man, like this is just awful to be honest.
Until you were standing by while Black minding your Black business, and
Yeah,
along they came, and you were their prey that day.
absolutely.
And so right now, just to sort of recap, we are now sort of in the waiting game, right? Like you did your diligence, you did what they asked you to do, and now it's your lawyer against their lawyer, and then we see where we go from that.
That's
And
the
I really hope your lawyer continues to like really lean and say, you know what, let's take this to Superior Court, where judges in Superior Court are very annoyed by cases like this, and
yep,
it ends up being thrown out in the end.
yep.
But not yours.
No, this
Yours
video.
needs to stay, yes, and to continue to fight. And you're right. The Black community in Quebec needs to unify.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's a very heavy Haitian population there for sure. But there are other Black people that are, from the Caribbean and from Africa that are
Yeah.
moving there, particularly French-speaking ones.
Absolutely.
So they need to unify. They need to unify. And because that's one of the problems in our community is lack of unification. So that
Uh,
is a must, especially in that province.
so
That
what I said,
province,
yeah,
definitely.
what I said when I was telling somebody recently too, and I said one thing that America does better than us is that they unite when these type of situations happen. They kind of have like a engagement to go when something happens. They all unify right away. Here we kind of have a culture in Canada of being nice, or kind of like passive in a sense, where we watch it, but we watch it within closed doors in our confined space and say, "Oh, that's awful," but I don't want to get involved because it's gonna mess up my life, and I don't want to knock on that door. Like I don't want to think. Or there's another part of saying, "What did he do? He may be guilty." We start thinking that that person has done some wrongdoing in that things. There's doubt. There's self doubt even amongst the blacks within Canada, which is strange, and I say that's been created by the system, of what's oppression and all this stuff for years. That's what all really it is. To be honest, we start having self doubt, self guilt. Even I've had friends or distant people come to me and say, "No, no, no. What did you really do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean by that? What are you trying to say?" And these are people that I love. Like, "What did you do?" And I said, "Okay, I don't even get mad at them. It's just the way how Canada is now. It's like we have self doubt so much amongst ourselves that we think that the police are just the good guys all the time. That's our mentality, and where the black were supposed to be the bad guys is like that's an old game. That's a very old game, and they've been trying to use that for how many years, hundreds of years. So it's like when you look back, it's you can't use that rhetoric for that long. And they just find it funny.
And you're right. It is that mentality because in the United States they sure do unify. And not only do they unify with each other, when something's happening to other races of people, they're like, that's not our problem. We have enough going on in our community that we're focusing on.
Hmm.
Y'all go and deal with your stuff. And that's what's lacking in our community. And you're
Hmm.
right. It is a slave mentality. That's the first thing. And it's also they don't want to muck up their wonderful, peaceful existence. And some of them are, in relationships or married to the folks, and they don't want to muddy those waters, so they stay quiet. There's so many moving parts, and I talk about it a lot.
Yeah,
Is the lack of unification, but more importantly for me is that I just want to make sure that you remain safe and
absolutely.
that you get your justice
Yes.
because there's no doubt in my mind that they just targeted you because you were their choice that night.
Hmm.
Because there's no reason why a person can't ask a police officer, why are you telling me to go back in my car? What are you
Absolutely.
detaining me for? In
Yes.
fact, most of the time, if they come up to you, they tell you why.
I've
Or so,
heard there's a robbery in the area and you fit the description. I've heard this story so many times. Here's my ID because I've heard that a million times. I'm not gonna argue and continue this conversation. Take my ID, run my name, whatever. But when you tell me to get back in my car, like you seem a firearm or like I'm some danger or some threat, when I'm asking for what? What are we being detained for? Am I being detained here? Get back into your car. You didn't just pull me over. Why are you forcing me into my car? Immediately, I just caught on to what was going on. You were thinking that I'm intoxicated and you thought that you can pull something.
I think that they were obviously trying to set you up, and
Absolutely.
and that didn't work, and they were mad that you had the audacity to question them. When in
Mhm.
fact, like I said, they're the ones that need to tell you why they're asking you to do anything that they're asking you to do.
Absolutely.
But I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to speak with you so that I can hear from you directly, where you're at, what happened. And I'm going to be rooting for you and I'm going to be keeping my good eye on this case. And we'll stay in contact and
Absolutely.
you can keep us updated because I know that we all want to know how this plays out, especially because they have the caucasity to charge you. So thank you again so much for talking to me and let us stay in touch so that we can keep an eye on this. And please be safe out there.
Absolutely. I'm in Ontario. It's very safe out here. It's still not super safe, but it's a big difference than Quebec. So I'm at least happy to be back in Toronto and everything. And I appreciate you putting me on your platform, spreading my story. I love what you guys are doing as well. I appreciate all the love and the respect and pushing for everything. So hopefully some change happens and, we can be pivotal for this.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and this is what we live for. We live for exposing these kinds of things and
Absolutely.
against injustices against our people. So
Absolutely.
we will definitely stay in contact, and I will keep watching this story. So thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you, thank you again.
No worries. I survived for a reason. I'm here to tell my story. Spread it like wildfire, so I ain't going anywhere.
And there you have it. This is how Quebec police get down. And as you heard Gulaid said, they have this running game where they will put money in a pot and say, how many black people can we assault today? I am not the least bit surprised, but I'm really, really glad that Goulet is not backing down and he's taking it all the way. And I really hope his attorneys are good because this police force, they will put up as much as possible to fight him. And they are banking on it being a severe inconvenience for Guled, that he'll just, go away so they can continue tormenting black men like they have been doing. So I will be keeping my good eye on this, and Guled has agreed to keep me updated as everything unfolds. So as it unfolds, I will also keep you all updated. In the meantime, let me know what you think about this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this content. Also, don't forget to download the African Diaspora News app from your Google or Apple store. You will not be disappointed. Download that app. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Emma Ansah Unfiltered. Until next time, please be safe.